future grandmasters. Today we are going to learn Evans Gambit. Evans Gambit is played by white. So if you have white pieces, then you play e4. Your opponent responds with e5. You play knight to f3. Your opponent responds with knight to c6, and you develop your bishop to c4. And this is called as Italian game. If your opponent responds with bishop to c5, then it is called as Giuoco piano opening. And here the first move of the Evans Gambit is pawn to b4. You attack the bishop, but pawn is not defended by anything, so it is called as gambit. You are gambiting a pawn for accelerated development. The black has two options. Black can accept the gambit or black can decline the gambit. If black wants to decline the gambit, then the bishop can be placed on b6 or bishop can be put on e7. But the most common move in this position is capturing the pawn, that is Evans Gambit accepted. Now black has two options. Black can capture with the knight and black can capture with the bishop. In the both conditions the move is going to be same. You are going to push the pawn and attack the bishop. Black again can go to a5 or black can go to c5. If black goes to a5, then you can push this pawn. If black captures, then you can in this position play queen to b3, which is the most common idea in this Evans Gambit. In this position we are attacking the pawn on f7 twice, and also in the future if bishop moves out, then you are going to also attack this pawn. So this is the most common idea in such positions. If your opponent captures the pawn, you can just castle here, or you don't have to castle either. For example, if you capture this pawn and your opponent moves, then your opponent is hoping that he is going to get a discovered check on your king, but that is not harmful. For example, in this position, after white moves, you can attack the knight here, not worrying about the discovered check. If your opponent still plays the discovered check, then you can block with the knight. In this process, you save the knight and also block the check. If your opponent goes to c5, then the idea is going to be pushing the pawn to d4. Your opponent will capture, you will capture back, and now the bishop is attacked again. If your opponent captures and offers the trade of the knights, then you are going to capture and most of the pieces are traded, and then it is going to be easy game. Also in this position you are attacking the pawn, so your opponent has to be careful. But in most of the games, after capturing once, and when you capture back, your opponent is going to put his bishop on b6, and then you can push this pawn and attack the knight and win this game easily, because you are going to keep pushing the pawns, and then the idea is to castle as well. You can develop your remaining pieces and easily win the game. So again, to recap, if you have white pieces and you play the Italian game, specifically the you get Giuoco piano on the board, then you can play the Evans Gambit. The moves are e4, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and bishop to c4. This is Italian game. Then your opponent responds with bishop to c5, which is Giuoco piano, and then you play the Evans Gambit, starting with sacrificing the pawn, the b pawn on b4, attacking the bishop, and this is called as Evans Gambit.